Hey, everybody. It's
Hello.
Kathy and Mark from Cinemondo Land here doing a movie review of a film that is currently streaming on Hulu. Came out, theatrical release, a film starring Sydney Sweeney called Immaculate. And Kathy and I both watched it recently, and we want to just talk about what we thought of the film.
You know, there's something, it's a genre, I guess, like the nun horror films. And I thought The First Omen did it really well. I was surprised about how good The First Omen was. And now I'm not talking about, wait, The First Omen? No, we're talking about a movie called The First Omen.
Right, which came out like last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was really good. It was sort of like the prequel to the older Omen films.
Yeah, you find out where did he come from? Where did the little baby come from?
Yes, really well made and a really good first-time director. I think she's going to be doing bigger and better things. But that was quite a good film. And this one is in that same vein, like Kathy said. It's about Sydney Sweeney plays this character who is just, from the Midwest, and she's going to start out. She wants to become a nun, so she goes to this very earnest, sweet. Goes to Italy, the Italian countryside, and is picked up, in Rome. I'm assuming, and taken way out into. In fact, she goes, "Well, this is really far out there." Okay, and it goes out to the countryside where there's this convent, and it's there's a lot of nuns there, older, younger. And so she is immediately met by this other young nun who is not very pleasant to her.
She's kind of the punk rock nun who is kind of the rebel, She's
that's her.
A different nun?
I'm talking about Isabel, the one that introduced her, like said, here's your room. Right. And she was not a very happy person, but she did say, she said, you still have, when first I said, you still have chance to leave.
Exactly.
And of course she's like, why is she so miserable? Like, no, this is where I want to be. I want to be a nun. I want to, give my love to the Christ and the Catholic Church and all that sort of stuff. But there's the punk rock nun. There's another young, attractive, who's very fuck you, guy, fuck you. She's cussing and just being like, wow. She's like, she's somebody who sort of was taken off the streets saying, hey, maybe this is a life that I can sort of find myself, and I get a place to sleep and eat, that kind of thing, find my calling. But there's the priest, who's this good looking guy,
hot priest.
When
I saw him, I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. I thought, okay. I mean, Andrew Scott is one kind of hot priest. This was a whole nother cool hot priest.
Yeah. Super good looking guy who says, I'm so happy you're here. This is gonna be wonderful. And then there's of course the older nuns. Then there's the head priest, and he's sort of this stoic sort of guy.
Always, we know the archetypes,
right? And so everything is going along. She's sort of like just trying to get used to things. She doesn't really speak Italian. But then she starts having these. She starts seeing like these nuns, maybe in dark hallways, or a glance at that have this red sort of shroud. Or
that was really weird. Like they had the black robes, and then this weird, like almost a mask, a red mask over their faces, and it was very creepy. You couldn't recognize them. It was almost barely human. It was it was a very cool effect. It was very, very disturbing.
But so you're thinking, okay, are we going into the world of some sort of strange, strange sort of ultra cult that's here, or what is going on with these red masked nuns?
Yeah,
I'm assuming they're nuns. And she has a dream fairly early on that like those nuns are sort of attacking her and doing something to her, and it sort of freaks her out.
It was, and that's, the kind of dream sequences sort of bug me because I feel like they're kind of a cheat. We've talked about this before, where I feel like there's enough weirdness. I don't need the fake out, but then you're trying to figure out, is it real or not? And then when you find it's not real, then you're like, wait, was it real? Like, because then that was the only thing that saved it, is that you kind of wonder if some of her nightmares were actually really happening on some weird degree, which saved it. But still, it's something I don't like normally. Yeah.
I think in the end, we find out what the film happened, what's going on, that I don't think it was necessarily a nightmare. I think it happened. Maybe she's remembering it in a way that's not quite the way, it happened. But what happens in the movie is... And
there will be spoilers. Spoilers.
This is spoiler center. Yeah, spoilers. Let's find. I'm gonna put spoilers. Spoilers, okay.
Spoilers. Okay.
So far, no spoilers other than you get the setup.
We got the setup.
But we find out that maybe a half hour into the movie, that she's with child.
How? And they're like, are you really a virgin? Because you said you were. Like, they don't trust her. And, she's a beautiful girl of the age. So you're like, oh, maybe she did have some fun before she got to the.
Right.
But she insists she wasn't. And so then it's so gross, everything about like that patriarchal religion, but they have the male doctors and the male priests and the male man, and they go into, we need to check her out, and they, looks like her hymen's intact. It's like just gross,
I know,
like,
really, just like all of a sudden at that point, she's starting to think, this isn't right. First of all,
something's up.
I haven't had sex. I'm a virgin. And so this can't be right.
But you know what that means? An immaculate birth.
Right. Hence the title.
That's why they're like, holy shit. She's probably going to give birth to the new Jesus. Right. So they're very excited by this, because it's a true immaculate birth, and they're very excited.
Right. So of course now she becomes the star. Like she's babied. Like, please don't do anything here. Here's your meal. So and of course the nun, especially the punk rock nun, is
jealous a little bit
off, and Isabella, the other nun who is not very nice, she's like bummed out. And so all of a sudden she's this new girl is there, and she's like, oh my God, what is happening? I would have just said, I want, and of course she goes, I want a second opinion. I want to go to a real hospital.
She wants to go to a real hospital.
Right. Yeah. And there's just this one doctor, and there's this weird sort of, like a medical room. And then later on you find that there's a weird, like a lab that shouldn't be there, but is. And so
they have this medical equipment in the church, like a sonogram or something. Why would they have that?
Right.
And so the whole thing started getting dicey, and she starts realizing it, like something's not right in this place. This is just weird. Yeah. And she starts getting bigger. I mean, she's pregnant. She's really pregnant. So it was very disturbing.
And but she sees at one time Isabella, who was that nun that was very upset and said, take you should leave here. There's a really great scene where she's in the background, or there's a body up just standing, all of a sudden falls to her death.
Yeah.
And it's a really well shot scene.
Yeah, it's great.
Like back and like, oh my God.
She's like, did I just see that?
Yeah. So she kills herself. And then later on, the punk rock nun, I'm sorry, I can't remember her character's name. She gets taken away because she's like saying, she's just upset, and she's like, shouting back and saying all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And then she sees Sydney Sweeney's character. She looks through like a basement window and sees her like strapped down. All these nuns with the red are holding her down, and they take the scissor and they cut her tongue.
And they had these big weird, like archaic looking medieval instruments where they had this big plier thing, and they're holding her tongue with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the grossest scene. Like anything about tongues getting cut off.
Yeah. So and her look on her face is really like, like shocked and like big eyes. I'm talking about the punk rock nun again. It's just like a really kind of like, whoa, terrifying. That's really over the edge.
But then you're kind of in the back of your mind, though, you're wondering, is she a reliable narrator? Because we're not totally sure. Like they've had a few where she's seeing things or imagining things, and we're not really sure, did this really happen? Like, I mean, we're assuming it is, but I was sort of like a little bit like trying to figure out, is this for real or not? Like, so I wasn't quite sure, even though, pretty much it plays it pretty linear, but they kind of instill a little bit of doubt here and there because you don't really know her very well. And the fact that she's immaculate, you just wonder, even though we're on her side, it still seems a little,
it's
that's what I liked about it. There's a little bit of that. I don't know.
I mean, she's in this weird situation. I mean, again, it's that travel horror thing. You're in a different country and you really don't know anybody.
They didn't translate the Italian. So we were like her. We're like, what are they saying? I love that. That was a cool. Right. That was totally cool too. She felt very isolated.
Very isolated. And early on, one thing we should mention, they go to this other weird altar, and then one of the nuns takes out this long iron spike and shows it to. And they said, this is from the crucifixion of Christ, as one of the spikes that went through his. Yeah. So She's like,
and they have it inside this special safe, this kind of like ornate, case cabinet that's all locked away, all safe. This is when that started happening. It reminded me a lot of that TV series Evil, which I highly recommend to anyone.
I mean, somebody else said it was really good too.
So good. Yeah. They have every episode's a new case they're kind of investigating, and it's a priest and an atheist and a psychologist. So yes, It sounds like a joke, but it's also a funny show. So it's kind of funny, very irreverent, but they have that kind of same idea where they have these sacred objects. There's a part of the plot line is where they're encased inside this special device or whatever it was, but it looked very similar to this. So it gave me Evil vibes. So if you're an Evil fan, you will like this movie.
Okay, cool. So, we're going to fast forward to sort of like the end here where she's now,
yes, let's talk about that ending.
Third trimester, and, she's ready to give birth, but she wants to go to a hospital. So there's one scene where she's screaming and yelling, and she comes.
Looks like she's having some trouble. Blood everywhere.
It's really gross. She's screaming,
and they're like,
"Oh, okay, we got to take her to hospital. Take her to hospital." So they go, and they're driving, and then one of the nuns goes back to where she was in her bed.
Nosy nuns,
looking at, and then looks underneath the bed, and there is the blood of, what was it? A bird? I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was.
Chicken.
Oh, the chicken. Yeah,
it was a chicken. So she found a chicken head, and they realized that she probably killed a chicken. But I thought that's really lazy for someone trying to pull a scam like that. Like, could you not have gotten rid of the chicken? I mean, really, throwing it out a window or something. Come on.
That was
that was a little weak to me. But I mean, I know why they did it. So they're on their way to the hospital. They get the phone call, and all of a sudden they stop and they look at her, and she's like, "Oh, damn it,
Newman!"
Damn it. Also, I want to point out, it's interesting how the movie is broken into trimesters.
Right.
They started doing first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. So they broke the movie out into very easy to understand bites.
Right. So they, she tried to escape, but no dice back there, and she's sort of shackled down and stuff. But the ending of the movie is where it gets interesting, because we're thinking, how did she get pregnant? Was it some sort of demon pregnancy a la Rosemary's Baby, or could it have been that they, on that spike, they thought they had the DNA of Jesus Christ. So in that makeshift lab, they took the DNA, formulated some sperm and injected into her. And so she's got, obviously from the DNA, she's
impregnated by Jesus, basically.
Yes, basically.
What?
Which I thought was really smart. Like, I
really smart. I love that twist.
Yeah, that was what made it interesting. It's like, that's cool. So it's really science. These guys took what.
So there wasn't anything supernatural. It was like they pulled a move. They probably drugged her. There was, like you said, the dream sequence or whatever. And so they basically impregnate her, technically kind of in a weird immaculate rape. This is a creepy thing. And they impregnate her against her will, without her knowing. And I love that you then find out they've been doing that to a lot of women, and it's not been done doing very well.
Right.
So and she was the first one to carry it to term.
Right. And after, of course, they do it. You think about that scene where they were chastising her, asking her if would, and of course they did that already.
They know.
They're like, they were just
shaming
completely
her.
Awful times 100. So she, at the end, she finally, she breaks free, and she kills the good-looking priest.
Well, you're slow down a second. So first she finds all those tunnels underneath the church, and she's running around through them. And then right when she thinks she's going to get away, the priest jumps out of nowhere and finds her, and he's like kind of trying to stop her, And I like that too, because for a second there you're kind of hoping he's not one of the bad guys, but when he starts explaining what they did, he's a bad guy. So I like that. Then she ends up somehow, I forget how she locks him in a room, gets out of it, but then ends up lighting him on fire.
Right.
So that was interesting. Yeah. So that was, but I love that she's trying to get away. So you think, okay, he's done, but he's not done. He's just burned. He's not as good looking anymore.
Right. And so there's a big fight. There's a big fight there, and she takes that same iron spike, because she had it. She took it, grabbed it as like her weapon, and jammed it into her, his neck. And then
that was such a gross scene. So he's killed by the nail of Jesus, which was a cool idea.
Yeah, so kind of a crucifix by stabbing by the neck.
So we are also relieved. Oh, and also as she's stumbling around in this labyrinth underneath the church, which I love that idea, because that's probably very common. I would think that's probably for real. She finds, we could call it the punk rock nun.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
horrible.
she's dead.
Yeah, she's dead, and she does kill one of the other main nurses, the older nurse, and sort of mashes her brains out. Like
Mashes. I bet it felt good, didn't it? I loved seeing that.
She was a great final girl or final nun, whatever you want to
She's a
call it.
great final nun girl.
Yeah.
And then you finally, it's funny because you're down these dark. It was really well shot inside this labyrinth. You see this light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, oh,
water has broken at this point.
Yes. All of a sudden you're like, oh shit, she's giving birth now. And I was dreading that. I'm like, oh, here we go with it.
Yeah,
but they did a cool thing. Okay, so she gets out, she crawls out of the, she's out in the open, out in the middle of nowhere. She looks around, there's nothing. It's not like she can go down to a farmhouse and get some help or an ambulance or something. Right. She's on her own, which is terrifying because she's giving birth on her own. We don't know what's going to happen. So I love that they just kept the camera on her face. She got all this blood from all this shit that's happened. Yeah. She's looking terrified. She's just like, just screaming. It was so well done because I thought, please don't make me watch a birth scene again.
It was just
so well done.
Really screaming and just the utter pain and pressure and all that. And it's just it doesn't, it's not 30 seconds. It goes on for a couple minutes. It seems like it's
a very cool scene.
And so then eventually the baby comes out and we don't see the baby.
We just see her face. We never see anything. We see her face the whole time. A camera is on her face.
She grabs the umbilical cord and just gnaws it and separates. And of course she's exhausted, just spent beyond belief. But she does sort of look at the baby. We hear this kind of mewling, these noises.
Sounds. Baby's alive.
Baby's alive. Then she goes, she walks over to this rock like stone fence, picks up this giant, rock like this size, goes back over.
I thought for sure she was just about to get shot when she put that rock over her head. Something,
but she mashes the baby like
we don't see it. Again, we don't see it. It's all on her face. She just and you just know something happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, what do you think happened there, Mark?
Well, are you asking me like what's with the baby? Like it was the baby, like just a regular baby, or
did we see her kill Jesus? Did we see her kill the Antichrist? Did we what do you think that was?
My feeling was I'm thinking that for some reason that is somehow they really had the real spike. Let's just say I'm thinking, okay, somehow for whatever reason that's the real deal. Right. So they had the real DNA from Jesus Christ mixed with her. The baby came out. The baby's, I'm thinking, is fairly normal baby. Like I'm thinking, I don't think it's maybe like a special needs child or something like that. I think it's probably a baby. But she's like, I don't want this baby. I've never signed up for this baby. The way this is like a rape, basically, like a religious rape. And this baby is not something I want to take care of. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to take care of it right now. Do I think she thought it was a demon baby? I don't think so. I think it's just something she did not want to have. And the whole thing was horrible. And she had such rage and anger about this whole thing that she went through that she took it out on this baby.
She killed an innocent baby. That's what you think happened. Well, see,
I think, I mean, it's a harsh thing to say, but I'm just thinking what she went through, like, the whole thing, would she have love for this child because it came out of her, even though she had no say in the matter? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't answer that. That's just the way I looked at it.
Right.
I didn't think it was, I mean, did you think it was a demon baby? Like it was something you did? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's why. First of all, I feel like she had so much, like she was killing people. She was kind of outraged. I feel like, where is this all coming from? I get that she's trying to escape and all that, but I feel like there was something more happening there. Like she was able to just kill people and take people out, and it was with glee, right? So then I feel like when she got out there and she sees the child, she looks terrified. She's like, like she's having this reaction, looking at it, repulsed, right? And I'm like, well, maybe it's because she didn't want it, maybe. But then the weird sounds it did not sound like a baby. It sounded like something else. So
that's true.
When she ripped this, it felt like it was a weird color. Like it felt kind of reptilian or something. I don't know. I mean, I might be reading into it, but I got the impression that she killed the Antichrist, basically.
Okay.
Well, I'm like, okay, let's think about it though, because if she was impregnated with Jesus somehow, it isn't going to be Jesus. It's going to be combined with her. So is that technically how an Antichrist would be made? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It kind of an interest. There was a lot going on in this because we have a little bit of science. We had a little bit like what would happen with the supernatural and science, kind of merging. I don't know. I feel like I don't feel like she would kill an actual first of all, I love the idea for just killing Jesus. That's hilarious. Number one,
Yeah,
that's just
yeah,
kind of a whoa, like what?
yeah,
And then that would have been gratifying just because it'd be so shocking, right?
right,
Killing
right.
an innocent baby. I feel like we went out through all this just for an innocent baby. I don't know. That would be a little bit of a letdown to me. So I feel like
So it's either
the
Jesus.
demon's a little more easy for me to handle.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is true that the noises were really weird. It
They were
wasn't.
weird.
It wasn't a
And
crying baby.
but they left it just a tiny bit so you could try and interpret it. Like it was almost like, is that a normal baby sound? Like you're not sure, and they never show it, which I love that they never showed it.
And
We
also
weren't sure.
sometimes babies are born and they're not making any noise until a doctor or a nurse slaps it around and makes it cry. Like so.
Yeah, but this didn't need it. It was crying. It was making noise, but it was a weird noise. It just felt off to me. So I know as I've kind of looked around a little bit because I was like, what the hell? And people are split. Some think, did she act? First, people were like, that's cool. She killed Jesus again, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But then I was like, but was it Jesus? Because it did make people talk about the weird sound too, which I thought I heard. I'm like, was I mistaken with that? So I love that they kind of left it up to us to decide what ending worked for us. I think it's interesting. It could just be an innocent baby, and then she's a terrible murderess, and she did a terrible thing.
That's what I thought. Even though when I watched it, I said, "Oh yeah, that baby makes a weird noise," but maybe that's just
an accident.
I don't know. Just a traumatic pregnancy can make a baby make some weird noises for the
baby
first
doesn't know it was traumatic. The baby doesn't know. It just came out.
It's being jostling around. It's the mommy's murdering people in there. I just thought that would be an interesting. I just felt like the anger she had, and even the anger she had when she was killing people, was because I came here to sort of find my life and I'm 100% religious. I've been a religious person my whole life, and then all of a sudden what's happened to me is it's just destroyed what what I thought my life was about. And I just thought that was like, wow, I'm just really pissed off that what I thought was real is not real. Not only is it not real, it's like super evil,
But don't you feel like that by having her go through all that, but then to actually just kill an innocent child kind of takes us away from sympathizing with her in a way? Like we were sympathetic to her. I feel like it, as much as she hated it, was enraged. She wasn't really enraged to the baby. She was enraged at all these people lying to her and treating her that way. Would she actually kill an innocent child and want us to be on board with it? Like, it was an interesting, but see, that's what I love is this discussion. Like, who knows?
Yeah, no, I think I like movies that make chat about it afterwards. I mean, I can totally see your point. I can see the point that it's Jesus's baby. I can see the point that it's a demon baby. I can also see that it's just neither. It's just a child.
Which it is anyway, technically.
Yeah,
which it is.
So
it's very, very cool.
Yeah, so it's just one of those where I think the movie surprised me because the first half hour is like, okay, I know what this is going to be. But then it turns into something else, and it gets very it has some really outlandish stuff. It's sort of like, wow, they went for it.
They did. It was great, and the location was great. All the actors were great. They kept it it was pretty tight. Like cast was pretty small, technically. I mean, they had a lot of nuns, but they kept it very lean. I really enjoyed it because I was like, how much of this dark, dreary Catholic Church stuff, but they actually made it really interesting. And I loved a lot of the rituals and the ideas of what, everybody expected from women, in general. You saw the sort of feminist angle too from it, where
absolutely
you have these men all walking around deciding everything, where you had like 10 times more women going, okay.
Right. Yeah. But then there was the few that, sort of, buck the system. And they paid for it.
They shut that down.
Lives. Yeah.
That's right.
So it's one of those little, if you have Hulu, it's 90 minutes, like a tight film, and it kind of really works. I was really surprised. And Sydney Sweeney's great.
Tell us what you think happened in the end. I want to hear people's theories on the ending. Like, if you've seen it, please comment and tell us what you thought the ending was. Because really, I feel like there is no wrong ending. Just, it probably has to do with like what you expect from the movie, how you relate to it. I think it'd be very interesting to hear more theories about what happened there.
Especially people that might, be more religious than you and I, what their thoughts are, or especially people that are Catholic or in the Catholic Church
I know. I'm sitting here talking about how hilarious it is she killed Jesus as a baby. That's how hilarious it was.
Well, it's a bold way to end a movie. I'll say that.
It is
so
very bold.
Bold because it can go, like you said, 3 or 4 ways, and it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't just she takes the baby in her arms and walks away, and she's a mommy.
I would have hated that. I would have hated that ending.
No, it is. So it was the proper. It was the proper way to end the movie. As to what she killed is the question.
She didn't suddenly go, I'm overwhelmed with motherhood for whatever it is I just gave birth to. No, thank you for not doing that.
I thought it was exactly the opposite.
Exactly.
I did not want to be. I did not want to be a mother, and I certainly didn't want to be a mother this way.
Yeah, and it was more than being a mother. It's like
well, the other thing is if you're gonna give your life as a nun, it's chastity. You're not gonna have sex for the rest of your life. That is right. Yeah. So. Right. So anyway, it's a cool movie. Cool. It's really well done. I like the direction by Michael Mohan. The script was by Andrew Lobel. I think he did a nice job too. So
it's very
well worth checking out. So we liked it very much. Yeah. You think Burke would like it?
Maybe. I would like to hear his theories on the ending. That's why we should.
Yes. Maybe we'll get and watch it and we'll talk about it again. All right, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And thanks everybody for commenting. And if you're not a member of the Cinemondo YouTube channel, please consider it. There's lots of great member videos of extra films
that we put on there. So. Private videos no one's seen. I mean, private, sort of private, whatever works for you guys. We're doing secret videos behind the scenes. Exactly. No one's seeing.
Check it out, $4.99 a month. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye. See ya.